She was bound to the banker, but the Ranchero Gigante took her hand with a wildflower born in Tombstone. Everyone believes that María Delgado has her destiny to become the wife of the most powerful banker in the region, a rich, cold, and feared man. But in a manhã empoeirada, when the wind brings more promises of iron than of love, she saw something unexpected. A giant rancher, a homen exiled from his own land, holding only a wildflower as a promise. Before continuing, tell me, do you have an escalería to be sure of a broken marriage or the risk of fleeing with someone who only has a flower to offer you? Write our comments. And there is no esquessa de se inscrever no canal, because you will trace a story that is even more surprising. The sun, a relentless orb in the vast Arizona sky, beat down upon the dusty streets of Tombstone, a town forged in grit and ambition. It was 1881, and in this burgeoning frontier, destinies were often as stark and unyielding as the landscape itself. María Delgado, her spirit as vibrant as the desert wildflowers she secretly cherished, found her own path seemingly laid out, as immutable as the distant mountain ranges. Her father, a man whose aspirations were tethered to the security his daughter's future could provide, had arranged a marriage. Not just any marriage, but one that promised a life of unparalleled comfort and influence. Edward Stockton, the region's most powerful banker, was to be her husband. Stockton, a man whose wealth was as legendary as his reputation for a heart, as cold and unyielding as the silver mined from the earth. His coffers overflowed, his influence stretched across the territory. But his gaze held no warmth, his touch no tenderness. For Maria, this union was not a gateway to security, but a gilded cage, a future where her dreams would be meticulously catalogued and then quietly forgotten. The prospect of a life dictated by Stockton's calculating mind and possessive nature felt like a slow suffocation, a silencing of the song that pulsed within her soul. She moved through the days with a practiced grace, her outward compliance a fragile shield against the tempest of her inner turmoil. It was amidst this suffocating certainty, on a day like any other, that the ordinary fabric of Maria's life began to fray, revealing glimpses of an astonishing possibility. The dust swirled around the hooves of horses and the boots of men, each particle carrying the weight of their stories. It was in this familiar yet suddenly charged atmosphere that a man unlike any she had encountered before materialized. He was a figure of imposing stature, his presence commanding yet strangely gentle, a stark contrast to the sharp-edged men who typically populated Tombstone saloons and counting houses. His name was Santiago Cruz, but the whispers that followed him spoke of a different kind of renown. He was known as the Ranchero Gigante. He possessed no manifest wealth, no sprawling ranches to his name, no silver bars stacked in a vault. His possessions were intangible. The calloused strength of his hands, the quiet resilience etched into his features, and a spirit that seemed as untamed as the wild horses he might have once ridden. He carried no fortune, no promises of ease. Only a simple wildflower, plucked from the unforgiving earth, held out as an offering. This solitary bloom, so fragile yet so defiant, represented a different kind of currency, a silent testament to a life lived in harmony with nature, a life that valued authenticity over acquisition. The contrast between the two men, the banker and the ranchero, was as stark as the desert sun and the moonlit sky. Stockton offered a future paved with gold, a life of predictable comfort, a destiny meticulously planned and executed. Santiago, on the other hand, offered a path uncertain, fraught with the potential for hardship, yet illuminated by the promise of something far more profound, a connection of the spirit. Maria, conditioned by a lifetime of societal expectation and her father's pragmatic pronouncements, found herself caught in an agonizing internal debate. The banker's offer was tangible, secure, a guarantee against the anxieties of the frontier. But the ranchero's gesture, the simple wildflower, resonated with a part of her that had long been dormant, a yearning for a love that was not transactional, but freely given. It was an invitation to a different kind of existence, one where the value of a life was measured not by what one possessed, but by the depth of one's heart and the courage to offer it. The encounter was brief, a fleeting moment, on a dusty street, yet it planted a seed of rebellion in Maria's soul, a whisper of choice where she had believed there was none. The path laid out for her by Stockton suddenly seemed less like a destiny and more like an option, one that was rapidly losing its allure in the face of a wilder, more authentic possibility embodied by the Ranchero Gigante. The choice, though, not yet made, had begun to form, a delicate wildflower pushing its way through the hardened earth of her predetermined fate. The quiet days that followed Maria's encounter with Santiago were imbued with a subtle yet profound shift. The banker Stockton, accustomed to the effortless acquisition of his desires, remained oblivious to the seismic tremor that had rippled through Maria's carefully constructed world. His interactions with her were characterized by a possessive formality, a proprietary air that spoke of ownership rather than affection. He discussed their future with the detached precision of a ledger entry, detailing the social obligations, the advantageous alliances, and the expected heirs, all as if orchestrating a business merger rather than a union of souls. Maria, however, found her thoughts increasingly drifting away from the sterile confines of Stockton's expectations and towards the image of Santiago's sun-weathered face and the silent promise held within the wildflower. She began to notice the subtle nuances of the world around her with a heightened awareness, a newfound appreciation for the small beauties that had previously gone unremarked. The vibrant crimson of a cardinal against the muted greens of the desert scrub, the intricate patterns woven into the Native American blankets displayed in the market, the resilience of the mesquite trees clinging to life in the arid soil. These details, once mere background noise, now seemed to hum with a significance she couldn't quite articulate. This burgeoning internal rebellion was further nurtured by the subtle yet potent influence of her father's growing concern. He observed the faraway look in his daughter's eyes, the slight hesitation in her responses, the almost imperceptible withdrawal from the meticulously planned future he had so painstakingly arranged. He perceived not defiance, but a quiet sorrow, a dimming of the light that had always animated her. His own motivations, rooted in a deep-seated fear of instability and a fierce protectiveness, began to war with his desire for her happiness. He had sought to shield her from the harsh realities of their precarious existence, believing that Stockton's wealth offered an impenetrable fortress against the world's uncertainties. Yet he could not ignore the growing chasm between the Maria he knew and the distant stranger she was becoming. This internal conflict within her father, a man who had always presented a facade of unwavering conviction, added another layer of complexity to Maria's predicament, illustrating how even the most resolute intentions could be challenged by the undeniable force of a daughter's burgeoning spirit. Conversely, Santiago Cruz, though absent from Maria's immediate surroundings, continued to exert a silent but powerful influence on her perception of reality. His very existence, his unvarnished presence in the town, served as a living testament to an alternative way of being. He was a man who navigated the world on his own terms, his dignity unburdened by societal expectations or the pursuit of material gain. The stories that circulated about him, often tinged with the romanticism of the frontier, spoke of a deep well of empathy and a quiet strength forged in the crucible of hardship. He had faced personal devastation, the loss of loved ones, and the ruin of his ancestral lands. Yet he had not succumbed to bitterness or despair. Instead, he had emerged with a profound respect for life's simple gifts and an unwavering commitment to integrity. This resilience, this capacity to find light even in the deepest shadows, was a quality that resonated deeply with Maria, offering a stark counterpoint to the calculating pragmatism that defined Stockton's worldview. It was an unspoken invitation to believe in the possibility of a love that transcended circumstance, a love that was as enduring and as vital as the very earth itself. The pre-wedding tension thickened in Tombstone like the summer heat, manifesting not in overt displays of emotion from Maria, but in a subtle recalibration of her inner world. Her father, witnessing her increasing detachment from the impending nuptials, began to experience a gnawing unease. He noticed her quiet hours spent gazing at the distant horizon, her fingers tracing unseen patterns on window panes, as if sketching a path away from her current reality. This introspection wasn't rebellion in the traditional sense, but a profound re-evaluation of her own desires, a silent acknowledgement that the security Stockton offered was a hollow promise if it meant sacrificing her very essence. He found himself caught in a dilemma, his paternal instincts clashing with the deeply ingrained societal imperative for stability and advancement. He'd always envisioned his daughter's marriage as the ultimate success of his own endeavors, a flicker of something akin to despair in her eyes, a subtle dimming of the vibrant spirit he had nurtured, and the stark reality of his own potential miscalculation began to dawn. Conversely, the intangible influence of Santiago Cruz continued to shape Maria's emerging perspective. His very existence in Tombstone, a man who carved his existence from the raw material of the land without recourse to the established financial systems, represented a radical departure from the values she had been taught. His reputation, whispered in hushed tones, spoke not of wealth acquired through shrewd deals and advantageous loans, but of a life lived in honest labor, a strength derived from physical exertion and a deep connection to the earth. He had faced profound personal losses, the kind that could shatter a lesser man, yet he had emerged not embittered, but with a quiet fortitude and an unwavering commitment to his own principles. This resilience, this ability to find meaning and purpose in the face of overwhelming adversity, offered Maria a powerful counter-narrative to the transactional nature of her arranged marriage. It suggested that true fulfillment could be found not in the accumulation of assets, but in the cultivation of inner strength and the pursuit of genuine human connection. The image of him, a solitary figure against the vast expanse of the territory, became a symbol of an alternative freedom, a life unburdened by the expectations of others and defined by authentic self-reliance. As the wedding day loomed, the fragile equilibrium of Maria's world began to tilt precariously. The clandestine meetings, brief stolen moments that felt like breaths of fresh air in a suffocating atmosphere, became increasingly significant. During one such encounter, tucked away in the relative anonymity of a less trafficked alley, Santiago offered not a grand declaration, but a simple yet profound observation. He spoke of the way wildflowers, seemingly insignificant, possessed an indomitable will to bloom, pushing through the hardest earth to reach the sun. He didn't explicitly connect this to their situation, but the implication hung heavy in the air, a silent acknowledgement of the forces that sought to suppress their burgeoning connection. His words, delivered with a quiet sincerity, resonated deeply with Maria, igniting a spark of defiance she hadn't realized she possessed. It was a subtle shift, a quiet affirmation of her own inner strength, a nascent understanding that her own spirit, like the wildflower, possessed an inherent power to assert itself against overwhelming odds. The weight of her father's anxieties, however, remained a significant factor. He began to subtly probe, attempting to gauge the depth of her commitment to Stockton, his questions laced with an undercurrent of hopeful inquiry. He spoke of the legacy they would build, the influence they would wield, the security that would forever shield them from the harsh realities that had defined so much of his own life. He painted a picture of a future meticulously crafted, a life of predictable comfort and social standing. Yet even as he spoke, he could not ignore the profound disconnect he perceived in his daughter's responses. Her polite nods and murmured agreements felt increasingly hollow, lacking the genuine engagement he had come to expect. He found himself caught in a silent internal battle, his deep-seated need for his daughter's security warring with an emerging awareness of her quiet unhappiness, a growing suspicion that the gilded cage he had so carefully constructed might ultimately prove to be a prison for her spirit. This internal conflict within him highlighted the complex interplay of love, protection, and the often unforeseen consequences of parental ambition. The night before the planned ceremony, a profound stillness settled over Tombstone, a quiet anticipation that held a different kind of weight for Maria. It was a stillness that amplified the unspoken anxieties, the flickering doubts, and the burgeoning hope that had taken root within her. The meticulously arranged future with Stockton felt increasingly alien, a tapestry woven with threads of obligation and societal expectation rather than genuine affection. Her father, sensing this palpable shift, found himself wrestling with a growing sense of paternal responsibility that transcended mere financial security. He observed Maria's quiet contemplation, the way her gaze seemed to pierce through the familiar walls of their home, searching for something unseen. This introspection wasn't defiance, but a deep, internal recalibration, a silent acknowledgement that the life he had so carefully curated for her might not align with the desires of her own heart. His own past, marked by a relentless pursuit of stability after a childhood of scarcity, had instilled in him a deep-seated fear of uncertainty. He had believed, with unwavering conviction, that Stockton's immense wealth offered an impenetrable shield against the harsh realities of their frontier existence. Yet witnessing Maria's subtle withdrawal, the almost imperceptible dimming of her innate vivacity, forced him to confront the possibility that his vision of her future might be fundamentally flawed, that the very security he sought to provide could become the instrument of her quiet unhappiness. Meanwhile, Santiago Cruz, a figure of quiet strength whose presence resonated beyond his physical stature, continued to exert an undeniable influence on Maria's evolving perspective. His reputation, a tapestry woven from hushed accounts of resilience and integrity, painted a picture of a man who navigated life's inevitable storms with an unyielding spirit. He had experienced profound personal devastation, the kind that could easily extinguish the flame of hope in lesser individuals. The loss of loved ones and the destruction of his ancestral lands were not abstract concepts for him, but searing memories that had shaped his character. Yet instead of succumbing to bitterness or despair, he had emerged from these trials with a deeper appreciation for life's simple gifts and an unwavering commitment to his own principles. This resilience, this profound capacity to find meaning and purpose, even in the face of overwhelming adversity, offered Maria a powerful counter-narrative to the transactional nature of her arranged marriage. It suggested that true fulfillment could be found not in the accumulation of material possessions, but in the cultivation of inner fortitude and the pursuit of genuine human connection. The image of him, a solitary figure against the vast, unforgiving expanse of the territory, became a potent symbol of an alternative freedom, a life unburdened by the expectations of others and defined by an authentic, self-reliant spirit. In the hushed hours of the night before the wedding, a pivotal moment arrived, not with dramatic pronouncements, but with a quiet intensity that spoke volumes. Santiago, his presence a comforting anchor in the swirling uncertainty, sought Maria out. He found her not in a place of public visibility, but in a secluded spot, a place where the desert's vastness seemed to mirror the immensity of her internal struggle. He did not arrive with grand gestures or promises of immediate escape. Instead, he extended his hand, a simple, calloused hand, offering not wealth or status but himself. In his palm lay a single wildflower, a fragile bloom that had defied the arid earth to reach for the sun. "I have no lands, no riches," he stated, his voice a low rumble that seemed to vibrate with sincerity. "But I have this hand and my whole heart to offer." This was not a declaration of conquest, but a testament to vulnerability, an honest assessment of his present circumstances, coupled with an unwavering commitment to his future with her. The gesture was profound in its simplicity, a stark contrast to the opulent displays of affection expected by society. It was an invitation to a partnership built on shared struggle and mutual devotion, a life where value was derived from the strength of their bond rather than the weight of their possessions. Maria, her heart pounding a rhythm that echoed the desert wind, looked from the outstretched hand to the man's steady gaze. The banker's promises of security and comfort, once so compelling, now seemed like the hollow echoes of a life unlived. In Santiago's eyes, she saw not ambition or obligation, but a reflection of her own yearning for authenticity and genuine connection. The wildflower, delicate yet resilient, symbolized the very essence of what she craved, a love that could flourish even in the harshest of environments. The choice, though fraught with the potential for hardship and uncertainty, felt undeniably right. It was a leap of faith, a rejection of the predetermined path in favor of a future she would help to build, hand in hand with a man who offered not a guarantee of ease, but the promise of a shared journey. The decision solidified not through logical deliberation, but through an intuitive understanding that true wealth lay not in what one possessed, but in the courage to love and be loved in return, a sentiment embodied by the simple wildflower, offered by the Ranchero Gigante. Their escape was a testament to unburdened hope, a flight fueled by the potent conviction that a life of shared hardship was infinitely more valuable than one of isolated affluence. As they rode away from Tombstone under the cloak of a moonless sky, the weight of their decision settled not as a burden, but as a liberating force. Maria, perched behind Santiago, the suffocating expectations receded with every mile, replaced by the vast, untamed expanse of the Arizona territory. Their immediate possessions were meager, the clothes on their backs, a small pouch of coins painstakingly saved by Maria, and Santiago's unwavering resolve. This scarcity, however, did not breed despair. Rather, it fostered a profound sense of shared purpose. Every shared glance, every hushed word exchanged against the steady beat of the horses' hooves, solidified their bond, transforming them from two individuals into a singular entity, bound by a mutual commitment to forging their own destiny. The initial months were a stark immersion into a reality stripped bare of pretense. Santiago, with his immense physical strength and unwavering work ethic, secured arduous labor on remote ranches, his large frame accustomed to the punishing demands of the land. Maria, her delicate hands unaccustomed to such toil, found her own resilience tested as she took on mending and sewing for ranch families, her nimble fingers weaving a fragile thread of survival. They weathered biting winds in drafty barns, subsisted on meager rations of beans and hardtack, and found solace in the shared warmth of their embrace against the unforgiving cold. Hunger was a frequent companion, a gnawing emptiness that served as a constant reminder of their precarious situation. Yet, amidst the deprivations, a different kind of wealth began to accumulate. It was in the shared laughter over a meager meal, the quiet pride in each other's accomplishments, the unspoken understanding that passed between them in moments of exhaustion. These were the true acquisitions, the intangible assets that no banker could ever comprehend or quantify. Consider how this applies when you face your own moments of scarcity. It is often in these very trials that the deepest reserves of human connection are forged, revealing a strength that material possessions can never replicate. Santiago's past, a landscape marked by profound loss, began to reveal itself not as a source of weakness, but as a testament to his enduring capacity for love and resilience. He spoke of a younger brother, claimed by a virulent fever that swept through their isolated homestead, and of a cherished family ranch, reduced to ashes by a devastating wildfire. These were not tales of self-pity, but quiet reflections on the ephemeral nature of life and the enduring power of memory. He shared these fragments of his history with a gentle candor, allowing Maria to glimpse the depths of his character, the scars that had shaped him into the man he was. He never dwelled on the tragedies, but rather used them as a foundation upon which to build a vision of a shared future. A future where they could create new memories, build new foundations, and cultivate a life free from the shadows of past sorrows. Furthermore, his quiet strength was not merely physical, it was a profound emotional fortitude that allowed him to confront hardship without succumbing to despair. This inner resilience was what truly captivated Maria, offering a stark contrast to the brittle exterior of the world she had left behind. This period of intense shared struggle served as a crucible, refining their bond and revealing the true nature of their commitment. Santiago, recognizing Maria's quiet strength and unwavering support, felt a profound desire to solidify their union in a manner that reflected their shared values. One crisp autumn evening, under a sky ablaze with stars, he presented her with a simple ring. It was not fashioned from precious metal or adorned with glittering stones, but meticulously crafted from a length of pliable wire, twisted and shaped with his own hands. "I cannot offer you gold," he said, his voice rough with emotion, "but I can give you my name." This humble offering was more precious to Maria than any diamond Stockton could have bestowed. It was a symbol of their shared journey, a testament to their resourcefulness, and a profound declaration of his complete devotion. The act itself, the painstaking creation of something beautiful from so little, spoke volumes about the depth of his love and his commitment to building a life together, piece by painstaking piece. This act underscored a crucial layer of their relationship, that true value often lies not in the cost of an object, but in the intention and effort invested in its creation. Their wedding, if it could be called such, was a quiet affair, devoid of the pomp and ceremony that would have accompanied Maria's union with Stockton. Under the vast, indifferent canvas of the Arizona sky, with only the whispering wind and the stoic mountains as witnesses, they exchanged their vows. It was a ceremony stripped down to its bare essence, a promise exchanged between two souls, a commitment forged in shared hardship and mutual respect. The simplicity of it all was profoundly moving, a stark contrast to the elaborate performances of societal obligation. Maria, her heart brimming with a quiet joy that radiated from within, felt a sense of belonging that transcended any material comfort. This union, born of defiance and forged in the crucible of adversity, was a testament to the enduring power of authentic connection. The act of marrying in this unadorned fashion was not merely a legal or social contract, it was a declaration of independence, a bold assertion of their right to define their own happiness, free from the constraints of external validation. The years that followed saw them build a life together, brick by painstaking brick, their existence a testament to their shared resilience and unwavering dedication. Santiago's labor was demanding, his days often stretching from dawn until dusk, his body bearing the marks of his relentless effort. Maria, too, found her days filled with purposeful activity, managing their modest household, tending to their small garden, and contributing to their meager income through her sewing. They experienced seasons of lean prosperity, where their survival hinged on careful budgeting and the occasional stroke of good fortune, such as a particularly bountiful harvest from their small plot or a steady stream of mending work. Conversely, they also weathered periods of acute scarcity, where the biting winter winds seemed to penetrate their very bones, and the gnawing pang of hunger was a constant reminder of their vulnerability. Yet, through it all, their bond deepened, each shared struggle, etching their love more indelibly into their souls. This period was not merely about enduring hardship, it was about discovering the profound richness that could be found in shared experience and mutual reliance. For instance, consider how the act of preserving food together during autumn, a task demanding cooperation and foresight, became a ritual that reinforced their partnership, turning a necessity into a shared endeavor imbued with quiet affection. Another crucial layer of their developing relationship was the way they learned to anticipate each other's needs, a silent communication that transcended spoken words. Santiago, returning bone-weary from a long day's work, would find a warm meal waiting, prepared with care by Maria, who in turn would often receive a comforting embrace and a shared moment of quiet reflection before the evening's tasks began. This mutual attentiveness, this constant subtle acknowledgement of each other's burdens and contributions, formed the bedrock of their enduring affection. The birth of their daughter arrived during the harshest winter the territory had experienced. In decades, the snow fell relentlessly, isolating their small homestead and testing their resources to their absolute limit. The labor was arduous, Maria's strength pushed to its very edge, with Santiago's steady presence and unwavering encouragement her only support through the long, agonizing hours. In the flickering lamplight, as the storm raged outside, their child entered the world, a fragile beacon of hope against the backdrop of the unforgiving elements. This profound experience, the creation of new life amid such severe deprivation, served as a powerful testament to their shared strength and the boundless capacity of their love. It was a moment that solidified their understanding of life's most fundamental truths, that love, family, and sheer human will could overcome even the most daunting obstacles. The arrival of their daughter was not merely the continuation of a family line, it was the embodiment of their shared resilience, a living symbol of the life they had fought so hard to build against all odds. In that moment, holding their newborn daughter, Maria finally understood the true magnitude of Santiago's gift. He had not merely saved her from a loveless marriage, he had liberated her, offering her the chance to experience a life defined by authenticity, purpose, and a love that was as enduring and as vital as the very earth beneath their feet. The Ranchero Gigante had not only offered her his hand, but had also given her the immeasurable gifts of freedom, genuine affection, and a future brimming with the promise of enduring hope. Her life, once seemingly predetermined by the expectations of others, was now a testament to the power of choosing one's own path, a path illuminated by the quiet strength and unwavering devotion of the man who had offered her nothing but his heart and a wildflower. Drawing these disparate threads together, we observe a profound transformation, a recalibration of what constitutes true value. What seemed like insurmountable obstacles have, in fact, become the building blocks of a deeply meaningful existence. The desert, in its unforgiving beauty, has mirrored the characters' inner landscapes, shaping their resolve and revealing their inherent strengths. Reflecting on this journey thus far, one can perceive the subtle yet powerful shifts in perspective that have occurred. The initial allure of a life predetermined by external forces has been supplanted by the profound satisfaction of self-determination, a hard-won freedom that resonates deeply. The narrative has moved beyond the simple dichotomy of choice, illustrating instead the intricate tapestry woven from courage, sacrifice, and the quiet strength found in unwavering devotion. The echoes of past losses have not defined the present, but rather have served as a crucible, refining the character's capacity for love and their understanding of life's most precious offerings. In light of these insights, the path forward becomes clearer, leading us to a deeper appreciation of the quiet triumphs that often go unacknowledged. The narrative arc has consistently demonstrated that true richness is not measured by the abundance of possessions, but by the depth of one's character and the strength of one's relationships. The initial vulnerability of a single wildflower, seemingly outmatched by the imposing edifice of established wealth, has blossomed into a powerful symbol of hope and enduring resilience. This journey has illuminated the profound truth that the most valuable inheritances are often those that cannot be bought or sold, but must be earned through shared experience and unwavering commitment. The cumulative effect of these revelations suggests a profound redefinition of success, moving beyond societal metrics to embrace a more personal and deeply felt sense of fulfillment. The Arizona sun, once a symbol of harsh, unyielding fate, now cast a warm, benevolent glow upon the small homestead. Years had passed since María Delgado had traded the cold certainty of a banker's proposal for the uncertain promise held within. A single wildflower, the dust of Tombstone, had long since settled, replaced by the rich soil of their own land, tilled and nurtured by Santiago Cruz, the Ranchero Gigante, and by Maria herself. Their daughter, a vibrant echo of her mother's spirit and her father's strength, now ran through the fields, her laughter a melody that underscored the profound peace they had cultivated. The hardships had been real, etched not just into their memories, but into the very lines on their hands and the quiet resilience in their eyes. There were winters when hunger was a constant shadow, and springs when hope felt as fragile as a new sprout pushing through frozen ground. Yet, in these very trials, they had discovered a wealth that no vault could contain, a security that transcended material possessions. It was the wealth of shared purpose, the unshakable trust built through mutual reliance, and the profound understanding that true belonging was not found in societal standing, but in the intimate sanctuary of a shared life, built from the ground up. Maria often found herself gazing at her hands, no longer the soft, unblemished hands of a merchant's daughter, but capable, weathered hands that had mended clothes, soothed a fevered brow, and held fast to the hand of the man who had offered her a future not of gilded cages, but of boundless horizons. The simple wire ring, Santiago's first offering, remained on her finger, a constant, tangible reminder of the choice that had redefined her existence. It was a symbol not of possession, but of profound partnership, a testament to the man who had seen the wildflower within her and had the courage to offer his own wild heart in return. He had given her not just his name, but his unwavering belief in her strength, his deep respect for her spirit, and a love that was as vast and as enduring as the territorial sky. His quiet strength, forged in the fires of personal loss, had become her anchor, his unwavering integrity her guiding star. The true measure of their lives together was not in the absence of struggle, but in the profound abundance they had cultivated despite it. They had learned that security was not a fortress built of gold, but a garden tended with shared effort, watered with mutual devotion, and protected by the unwavering strength of their bond. The whispers of Tombstone, the pronouncements of societal expectation, had faded into insignificance, replaced by the quiet cadence of their own rhythm, a life lived in harmony with the land and with each other. The Ranchero Gigante had not merely claimed Maria's hand, he had gifted her the freedom to claim her own life, to discover the unshakable power of her own spirit, and to build a legacy not of wealth, but of love, resilience, and the enduring promise of hope. The true practice begins now, in recognizing that the most profound riches are often found not in what we acquire, but in what we have the courage to give, and in the quiet strength we discover when we choose our own path, hand in hand, with a love that is as wild and as beautiful as a single wildflower blooming against all odds.